Life has a way of surprising us when we least expect it. Some moments appear so ordinary at first, like a simple invitation, yet end up changing everything. This is the story of Emily Carter, a woman who lived in Chicago, whose quiet life was suddenly turned upside down after she received an invitation she could never forget. Emily Carter was a 32-year-old teacher living in the quiet neighborhood of Lincoln Park. She had always been the kind of person people admired for her kindness, her warm smile, and her steady presence in the lives of those around her. Though her life looked perfect from the outside, an established career, a charming home, and a circle of supportive friends, inside, she often felt a deep emptiness. She had been married to her husband, Daniel, for nearly a decade. Daniel worked long hours as a financial analyst downtown, and over the years, their relationship had grown distant. What once began as love filled with laughter, late-night talks, and spontaneous adventures, had gradually turned into routine, silence, and polite exchanges over dinner. Emily, though devoted to her vows, often wondered whether she had been forgotten in the hustle of her husband's ambitions. It was a chilly Friday evening in October when everything began. Emily had just returned home from a long day at school, her satchel full of ungraded papers, when her phone buzzed with a new message. It was from Michael Hayes, a family friend she hadn't seen in years. Michael had once lived in the same neighborhood but had moved to New York City for work. He was a writer, charismatic and thoughtful, always carrying an air of confidence and charm. Back in the early days of her marriage, Michael had been close with both her and Daniel. They had spent countless weekends together, sharing meals and stories. But as life pulled them in different directions, they lost touch. The message was simple. Hey Emily, I'm back in Chicago for a few weeks. I'd love to catch up. There's a small dinner gathering at my place tomorrow night. Would you come? Emily stared at the message for a long time. She hesitated. It had been years, and she wasn't sure if it was a good idea. But something inside her longed for connection, for warmth, for something different from the monotony of her daily life. After a pause, she typed back, "Sure, I'd love to." What time? The next evening, Emily stood outside Michael's apartment in downtown Chicago. The building was elegant, and she felt a nervous excitement as she rang the bell. Michael opened the door with the same smile she remembered, genuine, warm, and familiar. "Emily Carter, you look exactly the same," he said with enthusiasm, pulling her into a friendly hug. The apartment was filled with a handful of people, all engaged in lively conversation. The atmosphere was warm, filled with soft music, laughter, and the aroma of home-cooked food. Emily felt a sense of belonging she hadn't experienced in years. Michael made sure she was comfortable, introducing her to everyone, and every now and then their eyes met in a way that reminded her of something she couldn't quite name. As the night went on, guests left one by one until only Emily remained. Michael poured her a cup of tea, and they sat on the balcony overlooking the Chicago skyline. "It's been too long," Michael said softly. "I've missed this, just talking with you." Emily smiled, her heart conflicted. Life gets busy. People drift apart. They spoke for hours, about her teaching, about his writing career, about the choices they had made and the paths they had taken. Michael listened in a way Daniel hadn't for years. He noticed the small things, her laugh, the way she tucked her hair behind her ear, the pauses when she was searching for the right word. For the first time in so long, Emily felt seen. But beneath the warmth of that moment, a dangerous truth lingered. She was married, and though Michael never crossed a line, the intensity of their connection was undeniable. When Emily finally stood to leave, Michael walked her to the door. "Emily," he said quietly, "sometimes life gives us moments that remind us of who we are. Tonight was one of those moments for me." Her heart raced, but she only nodded. "Good night, Michael." As Emily walked to her car, her mind was filled with questions. What had just happened? Was this just a reunion between old friends, or something more? In the days that followed, Emily couldn't shake the memory of that evening. She thought about Michael's words, his kindness, and the way he made her feel alive again. She tried to bury the feelings, convincing herself it was just nostalgia. But then another message came. "Emily, there's an art exhibit this weekend. Would you like to join me?" She stared at the text, torn between loyalty to her marriage and the undeniable pull towards someone who seemed to awaken something inside her. She knew the choice she made next could change everything. Answer. Emily found herself standing once again by Michael's side, this time in a crowded gallery filled with paintings and sculptures. As they walked together, Michael leaned in and whispered about the art, his voice low and warm. The world around her faded, and for a brief moment, it felt like they were the only two people there. Yet every smile, every glance, carried with it a weight of guilt. Emily knew she was walking a dangerous line. But she also knew she had discovered something she thought she had lost forever, the ability to feel deeply. That invitation, so simple, so unexpected, had changed everything. Weeks turned into months, and Emily wrestled with her choices. She remained faithful in action, but in her heart, she was torn between duty and desire, between what she had promised and what she longed for. Michael never pressured her, never asked for more than her company. And maybe that was why it was so difficult, because he offered her something she couldn't find anywhere else, understanding. In the end, Emily realized she had to make a decision, not only for herself but for the life she had built. She could not live in two worlds. She had to either confront the emptiness in her marriage or let go of the connection that had reminded her of who she once was. One evening, she sat across from Daniel at the dinner table, the silence heavy between them. Gathering her courage, she finally spoke. Daniel, I think we need to talk. Really talk. That conversation marked the beginning of something new. Whether it was a rekindling of her marriage or the start of a different path, Emily knew one thing for certain: the invitation she had accepted that October night had changed her forever.